receiving unqualified audit reports. As some of you might be aware that you get 3 types of reports, audit reports. So the good one is the unqualified report. It means that the auditors did not find anything wrong with your financial statements, and we have been receiving the unqualified audit reports for over 20 years. And our financial statements are on our website, so if you want, you can go to our website, check for yourselves, read the audit opinion. So our finances are audited. There is nothing that we hide. The other 2 opinions that are there is an qualified audit opinion. So if it's a qualified audit opinion, it means that the auditors have audited your financial statements and there are some issues that they are not happy with. Therefore, they will qualify those issues which they are not happy with. Then the third one is a disclaimer. So if the auditors cannot even audit your books because your books are not in order, it's either they can't find supporting documents or there are no records available, they can't audit them, so you get a disclaimer. So we have been getting an unqualified audit opinion all the time. So therefore, whatever financial statements we present to you, they are audited and they are unqualified, which means they are fine. We also have got a good corporate governance structures in place. You can also check on our website if you want to. We have, over and above the financial department, which I had, we also have got a finance committee. We also have got an audit committee. And lastly, we have a remuneration committee. So those committees oversee the financial affairs of SAFA, and all these subcommittees report to the National Executive Committee. So we make sure that there is accountability. All these structures supervise what happens within our finances. The other point that I would just like to raise is that as SAFA, we have never failed to fund our team, our activities in general. We make sure that our national teams play. You've never had a situation where a team could not participate, whether it's under 17 or under 20 or under 23 or the senior national teams. All our teams participate in all the competitions. We have never failed to participate because of financial reasons, because we don't have money to do it. So it shows that we have the funding and we are using that funding where it's supposed to go. Our competitions as well, our competitions play, all our competitions are not happy with. Therefore, they will qualify those issues which they're not happy with. Then the third one is a disclaimer. So if the auditors cannot even audit your books because your books are not in order, it's either they can't find supporting documents or there are no records available, they can't audit them, so you get a disclaimer. So we have been getting an unqualified audit opinion all the time. So therefore, whatever financial statements we present to you, they are audited and they are unqualified, which means they are fine. We also have got a good corporate governance structures in place. You can also check on our website if you want to. We have, over and above the financial department, which I had, we also have got a finance committee. We also have got an audit committee. And lastly, we have a remuneration committee. So those committees oversee the financial affairs of SAFA, and all these subcommittees report to the National Executive Committee. So we make sure that there is accountability. All these structures supervise what happens within our finances. The other point that I would just like to raise is that as SAFA, we have never failed to fund our team, our activities in general. We make sure that our national teams play. You've never had a situation where a team could not participate, whether it's under 17 or under 20 or under 23 or the senior national teams. All our teams participate in all the competitions. We have never failed to participate because of financial reasons, because we don't have money to do it. So it shows that we have the funding and we are using that funding where it's supposed to go. Our competitions as well, our competitions play, all our competitions.
The FIFA weekend starts on the 19th, but we think that an extra day, will really help the team. So that's one of the things that we have already done. Again, we want to play at altitude, so that's important. It should be able to give us a clear advantage, sporting advantage. And lastly around that is that we are sending someone on a fact-finding mission to Monrovia, because you'll understand that Liberia has not really played international matches a lot at home. So we don't want to leave anything to chances. We're sending someone. We have already spoken to the SA Embassy in Liberia to be able to help us to facilitate the fact-finding mission, to understand the traffic, the distance, and also the training venues for that. So that's really the part for Bafana. In terms of Banyana, and the coach said you will leave it up to me. As part of our support going into the Women's World Cup in 2023, the stakes are a little bit higher. So from the association, and we'll make an announcement a little bit later, and this is in consultation with the coach, we will be appointing a technical advisor who is a woman, who is South African, who will also be part of the team, and also the second assistant, who is also South African and is also a woman, will also join the team as our approach in terms of the technical support of the Banyana team. The third point was on scouting. If you remember the FIFA ecosystem analysis report, one of the key things there was the organogram for the Football Association from the technical division. So last year, the interaction within the Football Association was that we need to start first by beefing up the scouting department. We have already appointed a CEO.
Yes, you can.
We have already appointed David Nyati, who's going to be the chief scout for the association, and Aaron Mbazo Mukwena, who's also going to be the assistant chief scout. It's already in the pipeline that in order for us to have a successful technical identification program and a scouting recruitment program that is very sound, that we might also need to beef up that department also with a performance analyst, who will do a lot of scouting and video brief, on all the players, that are seconded to the team. So that's the main thing that we have already done from our side. The under 23, similar to the letter that goes to the PSL, that also covers the under 23 players for the game against Congo in March. And also, we've already had a meeting with Coach David, possibilities of having a camp in February, preferably maybe against the DRC or against Egypt. But all the details and all of that will be coming. But it's safe to say that this camp gives us a little bit of confidence, especially for the FIFA weekend, that we can have our best players, because you'll have known that last year we had a lot of challenges when the PSL and other professional leagues could not release the players. The under 17 also, a similar program. Coach Duncan and Duncan Cow and Aaron Mukwena have already submitted their plans. Plans is for them to have 3 camps and then also have a longer camp leading to the tournament in Algeria. They've already identified, I think, about 10 players, but 8 of those players have already been contacted. 1 in the US, 2 in Sweden, 1 with Liverpool specifically, 1 in Austria, and then 3 also in Holland. So part of the 2 camps going forward will be to integrate the overseas-based players, because we've seen a lot of Facebook scouting that has been happening a lot, where some known figures have decided to decide who we must call up and all of that. But it's been interesting that we have not received any scouting report. You know, we see you in the media that you must go collect there, pick there, do that, but I haven't seen a scouting report. So we'll begin that process with our department and with what we are doing. Moving on to the TDS program. The TDS is a FIFA TDS is a talent development scheme. When FIFA appointed Arsene Wenger as the global expert for talent development, his main aim was that every talent deserves a chance. And given the report that FIFA gave us, we have taken upon ourselves that we have to really start from the bottom. And starting from the bottom means that this year, on the 8th of July, you know, we'll have the national under-15 tournament, strictly for boys. We'll move to girls later on. But this will help us to select boys born in 2008 and 2009, hopefully. But these boys will go into the new cycle in 2025 for the under-17 national team. So already we want to start from the bottom, use the FIFA money, strategically build up slowly from the bottom. I'll also maybe later also talk about the program that we want to bring up there, of the technical incubation program, where we'll try to have schools and LFAs trying also to have a program at under 13 level so that we can really help South Africa to build from the bottom. So the under 15 national tournament is a sponsored tournament from FIFA. It's not really much money. It's about $50,000 at the current exchange rate, around 800 and something thousand rand. So that money will be used for us to be able to select a national under 15 team. That team is earmarked to play friendly matches and maybe also play with other countries that do have under 15. I know that Zambia and then Botswana and the Danish FA are already interested in that program. Moving on to coach education. Our coach education is lagging behind a little bit. So we need an agile, strategic program that will refine and also align what we are doing. You will note that South Africa has already taken 25,000 coaches. For this year, the idea is to have a lot of refresher courses to try to identify the bodies on the paper, to find out where our coaches are, they active, and then also are they qualified. So that's a program that we'll really embark on. Also, next month, CAF has said that our manuals are not really in the right state. So we'll have what I call a coaching review manual, a workshop, where we'll have all the brain trust from the technical point in South Africa coming together to review the manuals and of course try to be able to set up so that we can have a B license and an A license, because a D and C license we are covered, and maybe CEO in 2024 we then can try to have a CAF Pro license. Just lastly, in ending, also the HPC, the High Performance Center, this year we will try to increase the numbers of the girls in the program to 25, and also FIFA has also given us what they call a FIFA talent coach, who will also be assigned to the HPC over a period of 6 months to help and also identify our weaknesses and our strengths and areas for us to be able to improve. Just lastly, on the schools, like what the CEO has said, at SAFA level at under 15 schools, both our schools, boys under 15 and girls under 15, are the champions in SAFA during the under 15 Pan-African Schools Championship. They will be going to Morocco, to Ivory Coast for the AFCON Championship. And of course, we have already begun with SASCOC and also with the Football Association, Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, to really give them support again as we move on to try to do well at that level. I'm not sure whether I have left anything here, Coach Des. Thanks.
Thanks, TD. Just we requested to look at hosting it given the facilities we have. So we're looking at it. And then also that there are two important decisions which were taken by FIFA in terms of the legal framework. We are moving back from intermediaries back to agents. The regulations have been publicized. So the intermediaries are being abolished. We're going back to where agents must write exams, and there will be a monitoring process. Then we have what we call FIFA Clearinghouse. FIFA Clearinghouse will then start dealing with all monies due to agents and how they are getting distributed. So as a country, we also need to come with regulations which deals with developmental fees, so that clubs which are developing players from a young age, they get their developmental fee and their solidarity when players moves to professional. So that's part of the things which we'll be doing in 2023. But as of the 1st of January, the issue or the system of intermediaries has been abolished and replaced by the agents. The association will communicate the next steps on how people will be writing exams, and the good thing about it is that FIFA had said once you pass that exam, you are no longer restricted. In the past, if you write an exam in South Africa, you'll be restricted to South Africa. So once one becomes an agent, he then becomes an international agent. So that license will allow you to operate anywhere in the world. Thanks, Mr. Ndloko.
Thank you, CEO.
Oh yes, the game will be played in Monrovia because it has been confirmed by the host that their stadium is proper, and FIFA has just said it is now qualified to host. So yes, the game will be played in Monrovia.
Right. Yes, sir, over there.
Good afternoon to everyone, to my colleagues. My question is to Mr. Steenbok. I see you've mentioned the chief scout and the assistant, the likes of Mr. David Nyati and Aaron Basil. I just want to know what the criteria would have been for selecting the two former players. Is it the manner of their careers, being former players, or the things that they're doing outside of that in terms of their education as coaches that they've also done to try and improve in those particular positions? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think you will appreciate the fact that we have to look at people with the right credibility, especially around both development and also international pedigree. You know, so in our decision to appoint the two, we really looked at that. You know, Mbazo was most probably the youngest, the youngest Bafana captain. I'm speaking under correction, but again, he comes also from through the Ajax Amsterdam. You know, where their scouting is very efficient. He has played in England. He has also played in Belgium. He has played in Holland, and he has also done the UEFA C. So when you combine the coaching pedigree and the international ability, you know, it really serves well for us. You know, Coach David Nyati has worked well also in the Ajax academy. You know, as a scout and as a coach, and also he has played at international level. You know, and I also understand the kind of player that we are really looking for. You know, so those were the key considerations. You know, when we are really looking for this. You know, because again we need to look local, but again the right people who understand what we're looking for as we try to rebuild the setup.
We all know that the TD is an expert in that category, so you will strive to also empower them further.
In Fan Valley, how far is it from completion, or how behind it is in terms of progress, and how much is needed to get it to a fully functional technical facility?
Thank you very much for that question. For us to complete the full project, when we did our estimate about 5 years ago, we needed 600 million rands. So that's quite a lot of money, and you know, to be frank, we don't have 600 million lying around, but we are going to try and get funders so that we can complete the project. But we have done quite a lot at Fan Valley. For those who have had the opportunity to get there, you would see that there's been a lot of improvements there. What we've done so far is, one, we've upgraded the rooms so that our teams can stay there comfortably. We have built a wall there around the whole center. We have also constructed one artificial pitch and two natural grass pitches. So at least the center is now usable. You know, the teams can stay there and they can also play there. But I must say that there is still a lot to be done, and funding is the constraint. So we're trying to get as much financial support as we can. As I say, FIFA is giving us money for projects, and we are going to use that. We are also approaching some corporates who can assist us with that project, and government, which should also be able to assist us here. But it's a huge project, and we hope that soon we'll have funding and then we'll be able to complete it. Thank you.
From Homunto's question, you spoke about that you need roughly around 600 million to finish the Fan Valley project. In terms of when the association ventured into getting that project and using it as a technical center, is this price or figure something that was estimated, and sort of what were the evaluation process to see that this is something that the association is going to invest on and build on, looking at the figures? And my question is, you said that SAFA is on a sound financial footing. What is that based on? Especially looking at, for instance, that the Hollywood Bets winners and runners-up still haven't been paid. So what is the basis that the organization is on a sound base financially? Thank you.
Thank you very much for those two questions. So yes, when we bought Fan Valley, we identified the center, and we believe that is the right place for our National Technical Center. As I say that, we did the cost estimate at that time, and our results, you know, the costing was that we need about 600 million to complete the whole project, which includes a hotel, medical center, medical and research center, and so forth and so on. So yes, an evaluation was done, and we were satisfied with that evaluation. Yes, it's quite a big project, as I say, that we need some funding, but we're very happy with the work that we did in terms of evaluating that place and coming to the conclusion that this is the right place for our National Technical Center. Remember, this place is 38 hectares, so it's a huge property. And for the things that we want to accomplish there, we believe that there is enough land, because what we needed was a space where we could build everything that we require for a National Technical Center. And then the second question is around why we say SAFA is on a sound financial footing. I think my whole presentation was around that, you know, the funding that we have, the funding that we are receiving. We are going to be receiving the prospective sponsors that we are talking to, the current sponsors that we have, the long-term contracts that we have. So it's based on that. But specifically in terms of the Hollywood Bets, unfortunately, SAFA was closed. You know, we closed our offices for the annual shutdown on the 9th of December. Before we could process all the payments, we reopened this Monday, the 9th of January, and we are processing those payments for the Hollywood Bets team. So it's not because we don't have the money, but it's because we're on the annual shutdown. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe just on the Hollywood Bets, Mr. Ngidi, I think what Mr. Tuyo had said, you know, when you pay, it's a process. More especially when you are being audited, and it was fair to tell you how audit works. So the process has been done, and we give to you that by Friday we would have paid this team. Today we are processing that. Our payments goes off on Fridays. So this is the first Friday. So it's unfair to say you have not paid as if we don't have that money. We will pay the teams.
the question goes to the CEO, and maybe the coach can help. And I'm actually standing here over the moon to say you've hinted out the case of developmental remuneration of production, and to say development will be acknowledged, and maybe there'll be something towards remuneration towards the developmental side, because of they're not there to actually hire young kids for a special benefit. But what I'm saying is, with you saying you will acknowledge where kids come from, to say this kid is not mushrooming from a varsity point, because of that's where everybody saw the child. The child comes from somewhere at the grassroots level. So will this also help in as far as broadcasting is concerned, to say when you talk about a particular kid, it must be acknowledged that the kid started from a particular area, got into varsity, then the national squad. Because sometimes you just think that only varsities are producing.
Look, I think in terms of the regulations, they've always been there. But it also poses a very serious challenge to our amateur teams, because there are documents which are needed. This fund in itself is not just called a developmental fee. It's called training and educational. But we know, me and you know, that that old man who's training the kids back their home, he does not pay for their school fees. But we want to protect their rights in that they've contributed in the upbringing of a player, and there is money due to them. So we need to regulate and educate our amateur clubs about how they go about claiming it. Because others, when a big team comes looking for a player, they just say to them, we'll buy you soccer balls. They become happy, they take soccer balls and forget about any other rights. So we will be educating clubs. That's why I said it's a program which this year we will be focusing on, ensuring that people understand the regulations. For the media part, I will not be able to respond on it, because at some point you have people who know the history of players. There are those who are not concerned. They are just concerned about the final product. But it's what we actually want to see. The work of that old man there being acknowledged. The work of that man who took money from his family, supporting these kids when they are still young. We want that work to be acknowledged. And of course, you as the media can play a huge role in talking about the history of these players.
CEO, can I just add something? When we played at the last World Cup, there was funding for players that participated, and it went down to the very first club that the players played at. Even those clubs got a portion of the money. So clubs also have to keep a record. It's very important, because you can't just say, I had a player at Spurs, for example, but you've got no record of it. And that is very important. So I know, if you know Mallory Pugh of the USA, who's not just recently got married, they have footage of her when she was a 7-year-old. So, clubs have got to really come to the party and make sure, otherwise they lose out on their developmental fees.
Thanks, Coach. A good point, because even in this World Cup, that will still apply, Coach. It's a standing rule by FIFA to say when players appear in the World Cup, the clubs which contributed needs to get some money. So that will still be continuing, but it's important, and the message is clear. Clubs keep records, because most of them lose the debates, because once you say, okay, we hear you contributed to the growth of this player, where are the documents? There are no documents. You don't even know how many seasons was the player there.
much, Bramley. We've just got 2 questions, one for the CFO and one for Desiree. CFO, are you able to take us through what the SAFA cash reserves look like? It is a figure that's generally shared by CSA and SAFA when they present their own figures at AGMs. And for Desiree in particular, how have the players reacted to the parity in payment? I mean, at the end of the day, we all know that money is a big motivator. And are you also able to just provide an update on Tembi's injury?
We actually have the doctor in the house, Dr. Tulani, and he's been in constant contact with Tembi as well. From a medical point, maybe Dr. Tulani can give us an update. I've been in constant contact with Tembi. I'm sure you've seen the videos of the training, which is really encouraging. That was, maybe he can give an update where that is concerned. Look, the players sort out their own monies. You know, they sit and they have their own negotiations, am I right, CEO? Yes. They have their own negotiations. I'm not part of that though. But they are very excited, of course. Who wouldn't be excited if you're getting paid more money?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, members of the media. With regards to Tembi, she has done exceptionally well. Tembi has been discharged from the orthopod, has been discharged from all the medical people. She's now actually full force, and she's leaving next week to go to the USA. We've been in constant communication with her team in the US, and they are quite happy with what we've been doing and the support that we've been giving Tembi. Tembi has done something remarkable because of her mindset, and she is now ready to actually start playing again. So Tembi is good to go, and I can guarantee that Tembi will be available for selection for the World Cup. Thank you very much.
In terms of the cash flows, I'm not quite sure whether you're asking about the bank balances or the cash flow statement, the accounting cash flow statement. In terms of the bank balances, I can't tell you the figures, but what I can tell you is that we've got money in our bank account, which is why every Fridays, every Fridays we make payments without fail. So there is money in our bank account. In terms of the accounting cash flow statement, what I would suggest is have a look at our website. Our audited financial statements are there, and we've got a section. You've got your income statement, balance sheet, and then the cash flow statement. So all the cash flow statements are there. And the good thing about those is that they are audited. Thank you.
One more question here from...
Will the scouting process be under your tenure as SAFA in terms of our internationally based young players developing in other countries and the academies overseas? I mean, I look at 2 countries off the top of my head who have benefited from such. I look at the USA, who took a decision a decade or 2 ago to search for players of heritage to their side and how that's impacted the national team. I don't have to say too much about the importance that proved to be for Morocco in the World Cup as well, with a lot of the players being born and developed in other countries. Our African brothers as well, who we often fail to qualify playing against, also benefit a lot from players that are developed in different countries. Under your tenure, will we be able to see maybe a scout stationed somewhere in Europe to make sure that those type of scouting reports are thoroughly done and have his own or her own scouting network within Europe to ensure that South Africa as well, who now with what you've spoken about, players in the Netherlands, Denmark and other Scandinavian countries being already identified for scouting, that we also, South Africa, we don't lose out on such potential talents that can of course boost our national team and also add to the rigorous development programs you're talking about that you plan to have locally as well.
Yeah, maybe I must answer this in categories. From a scouting point of view, suppose I leave South Africa with my son, who is an average player, and maybe I land in the US, suddenly it's published there that there's a player here who's playing for a certain academy here, you know, but I know that this player is not good enough. So I want to pass this message, and a very clear message. If anyone wants to help South Africa, send proper scouting reports, because Coach Des leaves tomorrow. She's somewhere in Finland. The child goes to a development center, and then there's a lot of noise in South Africa that there's a player in Lithuania, in Finland, whatever. Let's be careful about it. Let's do it properly, and let's try to help South Africa. The second point is the reason behind setting up a scouting department of people with international pedigree who can also speak different languages is to give us an advantage so that we can be able to be in contact with those players. But I also want to highlight now, maybe next month CEO will also send a circular in Europe to all the associations to say to all players who are overseas based and want to play for South Africa to be able to be in contact with our scouts. I think that's where we need to start, you know. But again, I'm also going to be trying to be in contact with some of our legends, you know, people like Steven Pienaar, you know, who has a pro license now, you know, has been at Ajax, who are also in Holland. So the networks are also going to be very, very important for us. It's not a one-man show, you know, you need a couple of people who will be able to help you. But like I say, let's refrain from saying there's a player who's playing for Celta Vigo somewhere, but we know that he couldn't even play here for Katlehong City Rovers. He's there. And then suddenly there's a noise on Facebook, you know. So let's be very, very professional and very mature about it. Like I say, the national under-17 team have identified 8 players in those countries that we have done, but we're not going to close the door for anybody. You know, we're going to try to do our best, but it will need a collaboration for us to do this. Like I said, people like Steven Pienaar, people like Benny, you know, people like Bradley Canel, and anyone else who's in Europe who is our eyes and ears in those regions will be able to help. But the people that we are appointing will have to hit the ground running. They've got to look consistently at the fixtures, liaise with teams out there, and be able to do this job. I mean, already now, I was already in contact with David Woodfine, who's the assistant sporting director at Liverpool, who has a player that we are targeting there. He has already sent a video on Vimeo for us to be able to have a look. So it's going to be important to work together. But like I say, let's refrain from having teams that are playing on Facebook and on social media. If you want to help, please bring a proper scouting report, and we'll give you the contact of the people who are going to be in charge for the association scouting department. Thanks.